How often do we hear, cows only give birth to cows and sheep to sheep, so evolution is just a story? The truth is, evolution is observed all the time. It's not mysterious. Populations are constantly changing. Notice I said populations. I didn't say individuals. The changes occur across generations. They show up in the offspring. This means that because of our own limited lifespan, we are unlikely to see evolution in long-lived organisms like elephants, which take about 13 years to become sexually mature and then have a 2-year pregnancy. We're much more likely to see short life cycle creatures evolving, such as fruit flies, bacteria, and viruses. And the size of the brood is significant too. There's much more opportunity for variations in the population of codfish, which lay about 5 million eggs, than in elephants, which deliver just 1 calf. Even so, an organism doesn't have to evolve. The characteristics of woodlice have been good enough to survive unchanged in their rotting wood habitat for many millions of years. If the environment is stable, there's little pressure to change. But there's been plenty of examples of evolution being observed both in the lab and in nature. Just take a look at this bacterial example.
So what we ended up building was basically a petri dish, except that it's 2 feet by 4 feet. And the way we set it up is that there are 9 bands, and at the base of each of these bands, we put a normal petri dish thick agar with different amounts of antibiotic. On the outside, there's no antibiotic. Just in from that, there's barely more than the E. coli can survive. Inside of that, there's 10 times as much, 100 times, and then finally the middle band has 1,000 times as much antibiotic. And then across the top of it, pour some thin agar that bacteria can move around in. The background is black because there's ink in it, and the bacteria appear as white. First, you see they spread in the area where there's no antibiotic, up until the point they can no longer survive. Then a mutant appears on the right. It's resistant to the antibiotic, it spreads, until it starts to compete with other mutants around it. When these mutants hit the next boundary, they too have to pause and develop new mutations to make it into 10 times as much antibiotic. And then you see the different mutants repeat this at 100. And after about 11 days, they finally make it into 1,000 times as much antibiotic as the wild type can survive. And so we can see by this process of accumulating successive mutations that bacteria, which are normally sensitive to an antibiotic, can evolve resistance to extremely high concentrations in a short period of time.
And we actually make use of the process of evolution ourselves to get new breeds of dogs, heavier cropping, more tasty tomatoes, short-stemmed corn, etc. Of course, in those scenarios, it's us doing the selecting. So we often see evolution happening today. COVID virus, which has a generation time of about 3.5 days, keeps producing new variants which we try to respond to with new vaccines. Before you cry, "But it's still a virus," take a look at video number 5 in this sequence. And to find out why I stressed the ing of happening, watch the next video on the fossil record.